blew out the candles like we do in the West, and then she went around to every guest with a fork and gave every guest a piece of cake, and not on the plate, fed it to them, So I'm watching this and I'm like, this is her birthday, this is her day to shine, and to be happy, and but yet she's making it a point to make sure everybody else is happy, and then she's going to have to pay for the party on her own, We come from the West, okay? We have good incomes, we have a good living, stuff like that. We can make a difference, So I decided to make a difference. It was my own decision, and so I told her, I said, it comes time to settle up on the bill for the party. I said, you come get me. And so that's what she did, and we went and settled the bill. So I paid for the party.
Okay. Did it turn?
It wasn't, it wasn't as much as I thought it was going to be, but it would have really set her back. She may have spent the next 6 months trying to make up that. Whereas for me, it's, us from the West, it's a drop in the bucket. So that's what I did. I know. Last night we had discussed before I went to the party, and I said, no, I'm not paying for this whole party. Well, when you get there and you experience and you see, and you start to think, how much more fortunate, you have it from the West. It changes your mind.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? And I guess what I've noticed with Thai parties, and the Thai people in general, the collective nature of Thai people, that they stick together very closely, and you would notice that, especially amongst the lady girls, that the relationships between them are very, very close, and I guess that's because of outside society and the issues they have to deal with. But it's always fascinated me how close they stick together in comparison, I guess, to people in the Western world who are very individualistic and like to do our own things, and there's a distance and a separation between people that doesn't seem to exist over here. And I guess the only other place I've really seen that is in rural areas of Australia, where people have to stick together for their own survival, I guess. You don't tend to see that in highly built up city areas, not to the same degree, but I've really seen that here amongst the Thais, and it sort of it made me think about how we live our lives in the West in comparison to over here in Thailand, and the relationships we can build with these people, we can build very close ones, and I'm sure that gesture was
we can learn a lot from them too.
Absolutely. I think so. And it's a good thing, us mixing with them. We get to understand their values, and they get to understand ours. And we can sort of have the best of both worlds, and we can help them and they can help us. So it's a great match. And it makes us feel good as Western men to be able to help them. And that's something that's missing from the West. I mean, I don't want to go out of my way to help us anymore.
No,
it's gone.
No, because it's not appreciated. It's not appreciated, and if you do, then they say, well, why? You couldn't do more, and no. Another thing I was thinking, when you were talking about how when like Western women are over here, the look of desperation or another thing I've noticed is you'll see like people walking past like the bar where the lady boys are standing out front, and you see the way the people they look upon the lady boys, some of them as a spectacle or like an oddity or whatever, but you'll see when the women walk past, you'll see them looking at them, and they just have like this blank stare on their faces. They're looking up the lady boys, and I often wonder what they're thinking. Are they thinking of them as an oddity, or are they thinking of them, oh, look at this freak, or are they looking up at them saying, that person was born male, and yet that person's more beautiful than I could ever be,
and that's exactly what they do.
And will continue to be more beautiful than I'll ever be,
That is
And,
what they're thinking, and I've read reports online from women who have said exactly that. And it must be very difficult for a woman's ego to come over here and to see.
Well,
All the men who are better looking, and I must say that in my workplace I had some troubles with one woman, and this is actually pre-Thailand, I believe. Yeah, it was pre-Thailand, and actually no. One of the trips, she was still there after I got back from one of the trips, and I was so tempted to say to her one time. She started disparaging me, and looking down on me and saying some bad things. And I thought to myself, what I should say here is, you know what? I fuck better looking men than you. But I held my tongue.
Yeah, that'd get you fired.
It'd get me fired. I kept thinking to myself, like, that was in my mind. Here I was. I just got back in 2012, and I had this argument with this woman, and I thought to myself, wow, it's
Yep, that's exactly what I was thinking about. One of the girls, or one of the women that I was on a project with, and
the social contract's broken back home, isn't it? It's broken.
yeah,
It's broken.
yeah, and it really has. I've seen the friends of mine who are married, and they're very resentful of me. And same for yourself.
Yep.
And sometimes they have comments to make.
Offhanded remarks, sniggering comments.
And but what it really comes down to is it's envy and it's jealousy, and because some of them are working on their second, third marriage. Some of them have been through the ringer in the divorce court, and some of them don't have. A lot of them don't have the resources to come do what we do, and they're very resentful of that. Myself, I'm not married, and I've never been divorced, and so I've never had to lose everything that I've worked all my life to have. So as a result, I can have the toys that guys like to play with, stuff like that, the motorcycle, the boat, stuff like that. And here's other guys where the only thing they can afford is their vehicle to come to work to make the paycheck to take home and give to the wife so she can spend on more shoes to put in the damn closet.
It's amazing, isn't it? And the thing that gets me about this whole situation with you are wet free. We have a degree of freedom, and I've tried to help men in the past, all right, young up and coming men, and I've pulled them aside. I said, look, this is the reality. If you go down this path and you get married and you have children, this is what is almost certainly going to occur. Are you prepared for this? And they look at me as if I fucked up. Well, you fucked up. You've had some bad relationships. That's not going to happen to me.
Right.
It's like it's the male ego that many men they just can't get past. And I've seen men I've tried to help, and they've gone through. They've had children. They're in a situation where their wife's bitching at them, constantly going on about things, and they've become slaves. And it's like, well, I'm not going to say anything more. I tried to help them, and yet if they got divorced, I'd be the first one there to offer my assistance, even though they probably would never accept it. There's something about some men, they just can't see it, and they just cannot be helped. They have to go through it a number of times, and I think some men, though, they are able to benefit from the wisdom of other men. I certainly hope that I'm one of them. I've had some of my most valued male friendships are with men who are in their 50s, and those men have been men who have helped me, genuinely helped me out of concern that I was about to make a bad decision, and without them I might be in a very different situation to that. I guess I feel very lucky that they pulled me aside at the time that they did, and I found myself out of the relationship with my ex, single, with money. I didn't lose a lot of money at all. I kept my assets, I kept my retirement and pension plan, and other men aren't so lucky. I met one over here who had 2 kids, and he was in a situation, he's paying child support, and he's living away from his ex-wife, and it hasn't worked out, I guess, as cleanly for other men as it has. And you know, my friends looked at me, and first thing they said to me, they said, "Well, Jared, you have won the lottery." And you really have won the lottery in comparison to us, because you're on your own, you're not paying child support, you've got your assets intact, and you've got your peace of mind. And those things are so important. You now have the freedom to do what some of us, you know, we're still struggling to do. And I think it's a great thing. I was lucky. I view myself as having won the lottery.
Yeah. Well, there's also another thing that you still have. That this is going to be kind of macabre, but one of the things you still have is your head is still attached to your body. Now, what I mean by that, I know 11 men that I used to work with that one form or another took their own lives. 11 people, okay, and that's a kind of a high ratio. Most people only know maybe one. I know 11, okay, and but it was different reasons for the suicide, different methods for the suicide, but it all came down, except for two, it all came down to marital problems, and the guys losing their wives or going through a terrible divorce, losing their children, stuff like that, and they just couldn't handle it. Several hung themselves, but the majority shot themselves. And three of them shot themselves right in front of their own families.
Really
and but it had to do with marital, you know, disputes, and you know, it just goes to show what it puts, you know, the man through. You know, I mean, it when they say it takes everything from it, he loses everything. You know. Now, some people would say, "Oh, well, that's, you know, that's just being weak. You know, he was just being weak," or something like that. You know, well, you know, some of them have been through multiple marriages. You know, I have a friend right now. He's alive, fortunately. He's on his third marriage. His first two marriages, he lost everything and lost his kids. And literally, the only thing he had left was his vehicle to come back forth to work, so he can make, you know, be paying alimony. And well, anyhow, his third marriage, he married a Thai girl, and so far he's been pretty happy, you know. And but, you know,
it's shocking to think that, and you know, it's a known fact within the men's rights community and within the MGTOW that men are the ones who commit suicide at much higher rates, much greater frequency than women. I mean,
it's because they value the loss so much more. The loss means so much more to them. And you know, a lot of men, they can't be sort of talked through it. It's like they enter a different emotional and mental state when they're in that sort of state of mind where they're in a state of despair and they've got nothing else left, and they're viewing things in not a negative way, but in they're looking at things in a certain way, and due to the level of depression that they have based on those circumstances, it becomes a rational decision almost in their mind to do that. It's a way solution. It's a way out of the pain. And you know, it comes down to, you know, the pain of the suicide will be only temporary, but they'll be out of it. You know.
And I guess it shows the levels that men will go to provide for another, to love someone more than themselves. Really, it shows the level of, I guess, how men really are truly the real and the true romantic. Because how many women would take their wife in a similar situation? I would think very few. A man's identity is in what he does, what he can provide to a woman and to his wife and family. And if that's taken from the man, and he's lost his kids, he's lost his family, he's lost his
purpose.
Exactly. So I mean, it's a tragedy. Every single male suicide is a tragedy, and it's fascinating though that they boil down to those sorts of reasons.
one of the worst ways to hurt a man is to take away his purpose, to take away his usefulness.
Yeah.
You know, because every man wants to feel useful, but every man wants to every man wants to have the purpose of caring, you know, for somebody that he loves, you know, and take that away, and you know, he starts to question, well, what am I good for? You know, am I only good for strapping on armor and carrying around a weapon? You know, is that all I'm good for? You know, and so it makes you know.
Most men, they just can't handle it. I know myself, I've done a lot of thinking about this sort of thing, and I guess I'm I'm the INTJ, I'm the prototypical scientist, and I know that I analyse things in great depth, and that includes myself, my own behaviour, and I think to myself, okay, if I was in a similar position, I would try to work my way out of it logically and methodically, and by taking actions to make sure that
Can we get Tim Morgan?
to make sure that I could get out of the situation intact and in a better situation. But whether I would make it, I don't know. But
you would now.
Yeah,
You would now, because you know that there's something better.
Yeah.
You know, and you know that you have found the answer.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
And it's one thing about here is back home you may feel that, you know, well, what's the point? You know, and you know, what's the use? You know, no matter how hard I try, it's not going to make a difference. I'm going to be taken advantage of, and I'm just going to be used. You know, and like I say, thought of as a plow horse. But there's here, you know, and so now, you know, I don't even really think about that anymore. You know, I'm just you know, from here on out, my intention or my attention is going to be, you know, coming here to you know, to you know, to hopefully still, you know, see the friends that I've made, and you know, and the friends that care about me. You know, so.
And I guess it also shows a lot about us men that we're willing to get on the plane, we're willing to go overseas, come here overseas, and you know, try something new, because we recognise what's going on in the Western world only too clearly.
Right.
And I know I had up on my wall for many years, in my bedroom wall, a forum post by a guy who said, look, if you're with a Western woman, drop everything and just book a ticket, get on a plane and go to Asia. Do it now. And I had it there for years and I didn't take any action. And, you know, one day, the day came, I thought, you know what, I'm going to do it. And that changed my life. And of course, now my life's very different to what it was before, and I'd like to think that I could stay here full time, potentially. I know the time's not right for me to do that now. I'm 37, I just turned 37, so the time's not right for me personally, but at some stage it might be. And when I'm back in the Western world, I'm always thinking of this place. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about Thailand and the relationships that I've built up over here. Not one day. I think about it multiple times a day, in fact. And I guess I know that there's a better way. You know? It's about navigating that path, and there are risks along this path. And you know, about how we can achieve security over here, and there's many men that I know, they've got no security over there, over here, and that's another indication of just how romantic us men are. That we're willing to put everything on the line, and come over here and have no security, no backstop if we fail, and that's what we're willing to do for love, for affection, to help another person. I don't know any Western women who do that, who have gone over to a third world country and who have lost everything to a beach boy or something like that, say over in Jamaica or Bahamas or that. You don't hear those stories. You might hear it, they've lost a little bit here and there, but not everything. And some men have lost everything over here in Asia, and that's the risk they've taken.
Well, that's I think, you know, one of the reasons why, I would say one of the main reasons why a lot of Western men have lost everything when they come over here is because they didn't prepare. They didn't have a game plan. They didn't have a safety net. And so, you know, even though you're only 37, you know, and you would like to be here full time, the time's just not right. But you'll have all your safeties in place. That way, when you do make a move, if something goes wrong, you know, it won't be irreparable.